What if the most glamorous billionaire romance in the world wasn't a fairy tale, but a media storm waiting to explode? From luxury yachts to viral photos and internet speculation, Jeff Bezos and Sanchez have become the center of a story the internet can't stop talking about. Is this love, reinvention, or the ultimate power couple under a microscope? Stay until the end because the narrative gets deeper, stranger, and far more revealing than anyone expected. What started as the most talked about billionaire romance in the world slowly transformed into a spectacle of wealth, fascination, speculation, and internet mythology. Because when two extremely visible people build a life together, the world does not watch quietly. It watches loudly. It zooms in. It analyzes every gesture, every photo, every moment. And over time, the love story becomes larger than the people inside it. Jeff Bezos, once known as the private architect of a global empire, stepped into a new chapter of life that looked dramatically different from the quiet image he built for decades. And beside him was Sanchez, a woman whose life had already lived under bright studio lights and public attention long before she entered the orbit of extreme wealth. Their relationship quickly became a symbol of reinvention, of second chapters, of new beginnings, and of what happens when personal transformation becomes public spectacle. Suddenly, private vacations became headline events, red carpet appearances became global trending topics, and every photograph carried a narrative, whether intentional or not. The internet built a storyline in real time, a storyline filled with admiration, curiosity, criticism, and endless interpretation. And when whispers about wedding plans began to circulate, the fascination intensified, because this was not just another celebrity wedding. This was a union representing unimaginable wealth, global influence, and a merging of media culture with tech empire mythology. Speculation about prenups, luxury locations, and elite guest lists spread across social platforms long before any official confirmations appeared. Because in the modern attention economy, anticipation itself becomes entertainment. The idea of a wedding in Venice sounded cinematic, almost unreal. Gondolas, historic architecture, private yachts, couture gowns, and a guest list filled with recognizable names. The narrative grew bigger with every retelling until it felt less like a real event and more like a modern fairy tale created collectively by headlines, social media, and imagination. And yet, beneath the glamour, another narrative quietly formed. The idea that extreme visibility transforms romance into performance, that love in the public eye becomes interpreted as strategy, ambition, or symbolism, depending on who is watching. Admiration and skepticism grew side by side, and the couple themselves rarely addressed the speculation directly, allowing the public to continue constructing meaning from distance, which only intensified the fascination, because silence in celebrity culture often becomes its own form of storytelling. And as the story grew, so did the mythology around the idea of power, relationships, reinvention, and the complicated way society reacts when private life becomes public spectacle. As their life together unfolded, the image of Sanchez became inseparable from the broader conversation about visibility, aging, success, reinvention, and the expectations placed on women connected to power. Because public perception rarely remains neutral, it evolves into commentary, and commentary evolves into narrative. Photographs from vacations, galas, and celebrations traveled across the internet where they were studied, interpreted, and debated, not simply as images, but as symbols representing confidence, ambition, luxury, and transformation. Some viewers saw inspiration, others saw excess, and many saw a reflection of larger cultural conversations about image, identity, and the evolving role of women in elite spaces. Her background in journalism, aviation, and media blended with a new chapter defined by travel, philanthropy, and high-profile appearances, creating a public persona that felt both familiar and entirely new. This transition fascinated audiences because it represented a shift from professional identity to global visibility. And when a person becomes highly visible, every detail becomes amplified. Clothing becomes statement, posture becomes message, silence becomes strategy. And this phenomenon says as much about modern media culture as it does about the individuals at the center of attention, because audiences no longer consume celebrity moments passively, they participate in shaping their meaning. Social platforms reward strong reactions, algorithms amplify controversy, and the cycle of attention accelerates until even simple moments feel loaded with symbolism and expectation. And yet, through interviews, appearances, and public moments, the couple consistently projected a sense of ease and forward momentum, suggesting that reinvention was not something they feared, but something they embraced. And this perception fueled a narrative of transformation that fascinated audiences worldwide. Because people are drawn to stories of change, of second chapters, of unexpected paths, and the possibility of rewriting identity later in life. And in the world of extreme wealth, where privacy is rare and curiosity endless, every chapter becomes part of a larger cultural conversation about ambition, visibility, and the price of living life in the spotlight. Then came the images that sparked renewed waves of discussion. A glamorous holiday setting, a makeup artist sharing photographs celebrating her work, a caption intended as appreciation and celebration. And within hours, the images traveled far beyond their original context, becoming conversation points across platforms, because the internet rarely views celebrity imagery as simple celebration. Instead, it transforms images into open forums where opinions collide, admiration mixes with critique, and personal expression becomes public debate. Viewers analyzed lighting, styling, posture, and symbolism, projecting their own interpretations onto a moment that had originally been intended as private celebration. And this reaction revealed a deeper truth about modern celebrity culture. The more visible someone becomes, the less control they have over how their image is interpreted, and the more their presence becomes a canvas for collective projection. Conversations emerged about fashion, age, confidence, beauty, and the evolving expectations placed on women in the public eye. Conversations that extended far beyond a single photograph into broader discussions about visibility, empowerment, and societal standards. And through it all, the response from Sanchez remained brief, calm, and understated, offering gratitude rather than explanation. And in a culture driven by reaction, this restraint felt almost surprising, because silence in the face of loud commentary often shifts attention back toward the audience, forcing observers to confront their own reactions rather than the subject of their attention. And this moment became less about controversy and more about reflection, revealing how quickly public fascination can shift from admiration to analysis, and how the modern attention economy transforms personal moments into cultural conversations that stretch far beyond the individuals at the center. Ultimately, the fascination surrounding Jeff Bezos and Sanchez reflects something larger than a single relationship or moment in time. It reflects society's ongoing fascination with wealth, transformation, love, reinvention, and the intersection of private life with public storytelling. Because when lives unfold under constant observation, they become mirrors, reflecting cultural hopes, anxieties, and expectations. Audiences project meaning onto every gesture, every appearance, every photograph, creating narratives that evolve independently of the people at their center. And these narratives often reveal more about the audience than the individuals being observed. The story becomes a lens through which society examines ambition, identity, success, and the changing definitions of partnership in a world shaped by technology, media, and global attention. fascination. And as long as curiosity continues to drive conversation, the narrative will continue evolving, reshaped by headlines, interpretations, and the endless cycle of public fascination. Because in the age of digital storytelling, every visible moment becomes part of a larger myth, a myth built collectively by millions of observers, searching for meaning in the lives of those who live most visibly. This story is not really about scandal or certainty, but about perception, narrative, and the way modern culture transforms visibility into spectacle. When extreme wealth, global influence, and personal reinvention collide, the results becomes larger than reality, shaped by headlines, social media, and collective imagination. Jeff Bezos and Sanchez represent a modern chapter of public fascination, where admiration, curiosity, and speculation blend into a continuous narrative that evolves with every appearance, every photograph, and every moment of silence. In the end, the real story is not about rumors or headlines, but about how the world reacts to visible power, visible confidence, and visible transformation. Because in today's media landscape, perception often travels faster than truth, and the audience becomes part of the story itself.